Good afternoon, everybody. So today we put together a puzzle. If you saw Jimmy Oaks' video that was entitled I Messed Up, well, this is for the budget build, and this is going to be round 2. Now what he did is, because of the fact that everything was hitting the tubs in the S13, cut those even shorter, which is going to make them super fun to weld on this inside right here, because there's literally no material there. So that should be fun. And then we have to make up some piping for them and a few other odds and ends. Now, as I'm going through this, I'm going to give you guys a few tips and tricks when it comes to welding aluminum, and hopefully it'll teach you a little something, and you'll see some of the things to do and not do, and you know, basically that. One of the biggest things you need to be concerned with aluminum and welding aluminum is, one of the biggest concerns with aluminum is going to be cleanliness. The cleaner the aluminum, the better. Now today we're welding basically some Chinese aluminum. Now this stuff isn't bad. The CX Racing stuff is pretty decent, but you can see kind of that coating on the inside. I don't know if it's in focus or not, but there's a coating on the inside that makes this really difficult to weld. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack these pieces together, and then I'm going to go over with some acetone and clean the hell out of it before I actually do the final weld on it, which should hopefully make things a little bit better. But obviously I can't clean it with acetone now because we'd end up getting rid of the marks that are made, and that's no good. I've done that before. Alright, so let's get to welding this together, and then we'll do some more. I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but that white spot right there is the welder's cleaning action. I could get into exactly how that works, but just know that the welder has to clean off an oxidation layer before you can actually weld. And when you start seeing the black around that white circle, that's all the filth and the dirt that's inside that aluminum coming to the surface and being cleaned by the cleaning action of the welder. So you can see that tack is terrible. Hopefully the acetone will clean it up. If it doesn't, we're going to have to wire brush it with a stainless steel wire brush. We're definitely going to have to wire brush this stuff. It is absolutely terrible. Alright, we're just using a little stainless steel cut brush. It's important to use stainless steel, not mild steel. Alright, now that we got it wire brushed, we're just going to hit it with a little bit of acetone, clean off what we were just brushing. Get all that Sharpie out of there. Alrighty, let's see how that welds. Alright guys, so as you can see, we actually got it welded. It didn't come out terrible. This camera's terrible with focusing. We definitely got a decent bead on it. The acetone helps, but you can still see it's sooting up pretty good, which usually means it's got a ton of contaminants in it. But overall, I mean, it's glued together. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but clean it up with a wire brush and it'll look halfway decent. So that's the beauties of welding Chinese aluminum. We're going to get onto the elbow piece now, and then after that we'll do the intercooler. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the tone in the welder changes every time you hit a pocket of contamination. So if you're hearing that buzz, which should sound like a very constant buzz, when you hear that changing sound, it's because I hit a pocket of contamination in the aluminum. We did manage to get that one stuck together though. Not too shabby. Halfway decent for what it is. We'll clean it up in a little bit, make it look a little bit better once it's cool. Alright, on to the intercooler. And thank you, Jimmy, for all the nice markings, slightly down and slightly up. And oh, he even drew me a balloon. Funny. Alright, for this one we're going to lengthen the stick out a little bit. Just so we can get some better reach. It's probably sticking out a little under a half an inch. Alright guys, so now that's all welded up, I'm going to show you something interesting. You see all that soot right there? The weld is actually good. The soot and the contaminants that came to that top of that weld are actually from something a lot of people don't realize. All of these pieces were cut with an abrasive cutoff saw. Now an abrasive cutoff saw, albeit very easy and very quick, actually leaves deposits. Those deposits are from when the aluminum is melted as it's being cut by the abrasive saw. The pieces of the abrasive saw actually get trapped in the melted aluminum. So when you go to weld it, that's when you end up with exactly what you see there. So basically, Jimmy cut this with a chop saw. That chop saw left deposits of its own material within the aluminum, thus causing massive contaminants and a very difficult welding job for me. Thanks, Jimmy. But anywho, usually what you need to do is with aluminum, you need to make sure you're cutting it with something like a bandsaw, a jigsaw, something with a metal blade. The abrasive cutoff wheels and 4-inch cutoff discs and everything else, those are literally just going to cause you more headache than it's worth, especially if you're trying to learn how to weld. If you're trying to learn how to weld and your welds are coming out like that and you're blowing holes and everything and you can't figure out what's going on, probably because you cut everything with a chop saw. So that's another little clue on how to make sure that this metal is clean before you weld it. Not only that, but we're welding on Chinese aluminum, we're welding cast aluminum to regular aluminum to Chinese aluminum, and it's all embedded with grit from a cutoff disc. So I'm going to clean these up a little bit. I'll bring it back and show you what they actually look like once they've been cleaned up a little bit. You'd be surprised. It does clean up, but you know, just looks kind of funky in the meantime. All right, guys, so that's that. Now, as you can see, cleanliness of the aluminum is hugely important. How you cut the aluminum is important. How you clean it, how you prepare it, how you weld it, the materials you use, all play a huge part in aluminum. Now, here's the interesting part. When I first started TIG welding, I actually found it easier to do aluminum than I did stainless steel. It took me about a week to get somewhat proficient with aluminum. It took me about 6 months or better to even be able to stick 2 pieces of stainless tube together. So believe it or not, aluminum is a little bit easier, especially if you're doing aluminum plate. Aluminum tubing can get a little bit tricky, so that can pose a few hazards for the new beginner TIG welder. But I hope you found this video informative. I will see you guys on the next one, which will be very, very shortly. I'm actually going to give you a little sneak peek right now of what's going on in the next one. And yeah, so stick around. Again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate every one of you guys. We're at 400 subs already. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll see you later.